Hello my dear friends, you're in the Military Summary channel, and this short video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous night of the local time. The Russians are about to start another offensive operation on Sumy direction. The Ukrainians continue redeployment of forces trying to concentrate the critical mass with the purpose to repel any Russian attack, but most likely the Ukrainians would not be able to do this. Now let's move to Kharkiv. Zelensky made another video on the entrance to Kharkiv, so this is not very good idea because the last time Zelensky made a video in the vicinity of Heorhiivka, after a few months of clashes, that stronghold fell and in Russian hands. Now let's move to Liptsy. We got very interesting details and updates about this territory. We have two geolocations confirming, more or less confirming, the line of combat contact. On this video we can see the area that the Russians were bombing with artillery and with tank from hidden position. Most of the mappers have already updated and adjusted this territory of Liptsy under Russian control, but now we got the first geolocation confirming that most likely this territory is still under Ukraine control, or there are very heavy clashes either or this territory in the gray zone. Another important video of FPV drone strike on Ukrainian position, which also confirms probably that this territory also under Ukraine control. For example, on that video you might see not just the Russian FPV drone strike, but the quality and the situation with Ukrainian defense belt that the taxpayers of the United States of America sent around $2 billion. As you can see, most of the fortifications were lying down on the ground without any use and without any purpose. The most important updates are coming from the area between Liptsy itself and Vovchansk. This area, if you remember, yesterday we have adjusted the map and let's say improved the Russian positions along the river. There is Liptsy river, this is it, and the line of combat contact was moving along this line, along the river. But today we got the first video confirming that the Russians managed to, let's say, cross the river, and now the Russians are moving further in direction of the fields, and the global direction is the villages Veselye, Neskuchne and Zelene. So in that video we might see how the Russians were moving along the fields, moving along these, let's say, open areas with significant number of troopers, maybe hundreds of soldiers were moving in this direction, and the Ukraine FPV drone were bombing them. So if we summarize everything, we can make a conclusion that currently the Russians are trying to move this way. And the main these movements have few main purposes. First of all, the Russians are trying to get as close as possible, maybe even try to capture these strongholds and Veselye itself. So now we see that the Russians enter the next phase of operation in Liptsy direction, and this is first of all to increase the semi-encirclement of the town by attacking the strongholds that located to the east of Liptsy. And of course these movements that we just discussed will open the Russians the gates of opportunities to start offensive operation in direction of the village Zelene, Neskuchne, and then further to Veselye. So now this is, as I understand, the primary target for the Russians. As you can see, the Russians maybe will move further in direction of Liptsy, but they're trying right now to bypass the village, to encircle the village, and to reduce the losses from the Russian side. Now let's move to Vovchansk. We have lots of very interesting updates from this territory as well. We got the additional confirmation of Russian control over the hospital. On this video we can see the Russian infantry moving along the streets without any risk of being attacked by the Ukrainians. They're entering the hospital, which also confirms the Russian complete control over the territory. We have lots of photos of the let's say results of clashes inside of northern part of Vovchansk. The area is almost reduced to ruins with lots of explosions, lots of fire anomalies, and that we see that the very heavy clashes. Very interesting updates are coming from the northern eastern part of Vovchansk. The Russians are moving further. We have adjusted the map, and we have the first video showing that the Russians start, let's say, checking the Ukraine defense belt in the southern part, and we have the first video confirming that the Russians, using a small group of infantry, were trying to cross Vovcha river. On this video we can see the Russian infantry, the Russian soldiers who were trying to cross the river. They managed to cross the river, they managed to land on the Ukrainian side, and then the Ukrainians start bombing and attacking them, and after all the Ukrainians sent a small group of soldiers with the purpose to force the Russians to fall back. So once again, if we turn back on map, the Russian infantry crossed the river Vovcha in this area, and the Russians were trying to move further to the south in direction of the first buildings along Chaplinskova Street and to capture them and to establish a stable foothold. So these are first attempts to attack the southern Vovchansk. Very interesting. Currently, we don't know for sure whether the Russians managed to achieve any results or not. The video was published by the Ukrainians. The only thing from video we can say that Ukrainians counter-attacked and maybe forced the Russians to fall back. Interesting details are coming from the southern chest of Vovchansk. We have lots of videos of Lancet strikes on Ukrainian positions. And another important thing that I would like to discuss with you. I believe you're familiar with a squad, such a squad, FPV drone operator squad like Babry. We remember that this squad, Babry, used to operate on Rabotina, Zaporozhye direction. If you remember, we got a significant number, hundreds, tens of hundreds videos from Rabotina of how the last Russian FPV drone operators Babry were attacking the Ukrainian forces. Let's increase the numbers of days for better understanding. This is it. This is Babry, and this is their icon of Babrov, and they were attacking a lot, dealt lots of damage to the Ukrainians. And starting off today, we start receiving significant number of updates of operation from those Babry bots. Now they're operating on Vovchansk direction. For example, let's take a look at the videos. For example, on this video we can see the Russian Babry were attacked the Ukrainian tank who was heading towards Vovchansk. This is very important because according to this, the Russians redeployed the most powerful and the most experienced FPV drone operators forces in direction of Vovchansk, and that means that currently we're going to see significant number of losses among the Ukrainian armored vehicles and many other types of weapon. Another video from Babry, another FPV drone, and as a result of strike, another Humvee was damaged and destroyed. So as you can see, they start bringing results, and this is not the only FPV drone operator squad in the direction. Most likely the Ukrainians during the next months will suffer significant losses under the fire of this group. Also, of course, as usual, the Russians continue hunting the Ukrainian artillery systems. The Western media, the Guardians, continue publishing updates that how did that happen, that Ukrainians missed attack from the Russian side, and most of the military experts came to conclusion that most likely the Russians would be able to capture significant territories along the border with Kharkiv and Sumy area. Now let's move further. We got additional updates from other places. Lots of very interesting details are coming from Donetsk direction. We have update from different mappers that, as we discussed yesterday, that most likely the Russians captured up to 90% of Nitailova, this village. The Russians been fighting for the area for a very long time, much less than for Pervomaisk, maybe a month or something like this. But as you can see, we have adjusted the gray zone, and once again, most likely the village was completely captured by the Russians. And another interesting updates are coming from Krasnogorovka. According to the information we have, the Russians managed to encircle significant number of Ukrainians in the eastern part. We were talking that according to different mappers, the Russians captured this territory, but today, for example, the military expert Ryber stated that the Russians managed to create a cauldron, and up to maybe a few hundreds of Ukrainian soldiers were encircled there, and now the destiny and the situation with these troopers of the armed forces of Ukraine is unknown. Also, very interesting information we received from Mariinka. According also to different mappers, the Russians managed to break through the Ukrainian defense belt and to almost capture the village by the name of Heorhiivka completely. So if we summarize everything, this is approximately the current control of the armed forces of Russian Federation. And furthermore, according to different mappers, just one building or few buildings on the edge of the village left under Ukraine control. So we also have the video of Russian attack using the turtle tank. On this video we can see the movements of the Russian infantry, Russian tanks on Ukrainian positions. This video was published by the Ukrainian sources, and according to Ukrainian sources they managed to repel that attack under very heavy artillery fire. So for now, this video just shown us that the Russians continue using these tactics of turtle tanks, and that's it. Nothing more, nothing special from the video. But if we summarize everything like about the same. So the Russians were moving from Mariinka like this way, and they were trying to capture, let's say, these strongholds in the fortifications, and according to different mappers, those territories were captured by the Russians. If it's true, if this information confirmed, then we can say that the battle for Maximilianovka has started. And for example, another few more military experts are saying that the Russians may try to, let's say, enter Maximilianovka as a part of an expected attack, and if the Russians are able to do this, then after Maximilianovka, just Heorhiivka left. Anyway, if the Russians continue moving this way, Konstantinovka, Paraskovivka, and this defense belt can collapse automatically as well. Rabotina, nothing special, just the redeployment of Bobry to Vovchansk, and the Russians brought some less experienced squads on this area just for training purposes. So very experienced forces were redeployed to Vovchansk, less experienced were redeployed here with the purpose to support the Russian offensive and the situation in this area as well. So the Russians, as you can see, have few layers of trainings and so on. Crimea, a lot of updates. Today we continue receiving updates about the Ukrainian missile strike on Bilbek airfield. First we got the video with not very good quality. That show us some damage, and was very difficult to understand what exactly was destroyed. And later we got the video with a very good quality that shows that the Russians lost few aircrafts, MiG-21, MiG-31, MiG-29, Su-27, so more precise, a significant number. The Russians published the better video with a better quality of hunting the Ukrainian Navy drones in the Black Sea. Very difficult situation in the Black Sea, as you can see. We see that Ukrainians maybe doesn't have complete superiority, but at least they have some dominance in the area using this type of weapon. For now, the Russians haven't found the solution how to return control over the Black Sea completely. Kyiv, we have a lot of updates. According to information we have, the Ukrainians requested NATO to send military experts for training and teaching the Ukrainian soldiers on the ground. The Ukrainians during the previous months of bloody mobilization managed to mobilize up to 150,000 soldiers, and now they should be trained. Ukrainians are very afraid of sending these Ukrainians to Europe because all these 150,000 can escape the, let's say, NATO countries' army. So that's why the Ukrainians are asking to bring, let's say, officers on the territory of Ukraine to train them at home, at the territory of Ukraine. And so we'll see what is going to happen or not, but the United States of America have already refused to do this. And furthermore, we have some first results about the audit that the United States of America, let's say, making right now about the military aid. And according to information we have, since the beginning of this year, the 12% of military aid that was sent to Ukraine was stolen and corrupted and may be sent all over the world to the terrorist organization and many other things. And that's it for the short video. Military Summary channel reminds we condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes to my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.